I sent you an email to invite you to this, and we couldn't do it last year. So I'm glad you could finally make it this year. Welcome.
I know, because my book wasn't even available. I was like, are you kidding me? It wasn't available in Africa until this year. So I had my UK Commonwealth. I had my UK and Africa release June 1st. So now finally I have the books that I could legally give you the books, but I was sliding things. But now I can actually give you books that you could give to your viewers and your readers. So I'm really happy to be here and have with this wonderful international and crowd. It's lovely.
Absolutely, it is so lovely to finally be able to chat to you. Let me just to say as a kickoff how much I absolutely enjoyed already last year when I read it. Enjoyed your collection. And
thank you so
again,
much.
enjoyed revisiting it. In fact, I was just doing some master classes with University of East Anglia, and I used working on Cowrie Shells as one of the books that I referred the students to. And I said, listen, I even referred them to your website, and I said you can get the whole book later. I'm hoping Cheche books and prestige books and all the fantastic Somanami books, all the fantastic bookshops in Nairobi, but across the continent, will have a copy of Walking on Cowrie Shells, because it's a beautiful, brilliant, eclectic mix of stories. But kick us off with something.
What'd you say?
Kick us off with a snippet.
So like a little snippet. What do you have a preference? Because now you like beautiful, eclectic. I've got to show and prove. Do you have something
Listen, I like all your stories, So it's gonna be very difficult. I might want no. I tell you what, you do the picking, and then I will quiz you on others.
Okay, sure. That sounds absolutely fine. Let me know, if you want me to read a minute or so, or that's fine. I can go ahead. I have a book right in front of me. So I'm going to read from The Devil is a Liar, and that's a story about Afro-Christian spiritual warfare. We know, like, our charismatic African church, they be up on the pulpits, right? And and I'm dealing with the story and religion through the lens of a mother and daughter who are going through a difficult family time, and the mother is trying to lend her faith, lend her love to her daughter, and her daughter, even though she's married to a pastor, she's kind of like, I don't know about this religion, Mom. So this is how the story begins. I'm going to take you right into their space. The devil is a liar. There are hymns, there are hosannas, there are hallelujahs. There are some who are struck dumb in his presence, and those who are newborn linguists speaking in tongues. Eyes roll heavenward, limbs grow palsied, tears of joy, of penitence, of defiance are shed. Through this sound and this fury, Sister Gloria and Gassa, Minister of Music for the New African International Church of the Holy Redeemer Brooklyn Battalion, is praying fervently. Oh, thank you, O Lord. Thank you, O Father. Thank you, O Alpha and Omega. Thank you, O Heavenly One. Glory glorifies and magnifies the Almighty for the miracle he has wrought in the life of her daughter, Temperance. Her voice, once whispery, rises, then rises again as she sways to the unsung chorus, moving the faithful 20-person flock present for service that Sunday morning. And faithful they are to this Fledgling church. Its sanctuary, a dusty Brooklyn apartment, a donated studio undergoing a slow renovation that has spanned from Easter Sunday the year prior into an unknown future, perhaps. The congregation is sanguine in their shared burdens, tried and tested they will not be found lacking. So one had to watch one's steps on the unfit floorboards, a mere reminder that Jesus himself was a carpenter, a man who the grain of cedar, of poplar, of acacia, and even the bitterest wormwood. So the single pane windows were unsealed and unshielded. Their translucent tarp coverings fluttered on the draft like a host of angel wings. Yes, the congregants of the New Africa International Church of the Holy Redeemer know that they are blessed. Their leader, man of God, Pastor Godlove Okonden, had journeyed all the way from church headquarters in Cameroon to share his special anointing. Just that moment, he is laying his hands on one of the people, saying, Spirit of Christ, the Father of God, the body of Christ, and Brother Williams, all 6 feet of him and the man, fall into the waiting arms of Sister Anna. And that pastor is raining down rapid fire, holy fire to break the ancestral curses that had kept the good brother from receiving his promotion, his increase. Release him in the name of God the Father. Release him in the name of the Heavenly Father. Release him in the name of the Holy Spirit. Release him, Jehovah Jireh. Thy will be done. Lori's head is bowed and she is praying because she is full of a mighty testimony. Her daughter Temperance, whose belly had lain fallow for over a decade, is now with child. Hallelujah. 3 months ago in this very church, the pastor had laid hands on her visiting daughter and covered her with the holy blood of Jesus. The 2 women had come there seeking a miracle, and that miracle was had. All right, what's that?
Thank you very much for that. Right, that's actually one of my favorite stories.
Oh, lovely.
Everybody on this continent can relate to it, particularly now that we have all these Pentecostal churches. In fact, as I was zooming my way back home, I saw this church on my left and I just started laughing because I thought of this church. The church was called the Redeemed Christian Church of God. And I thought, this could be a church that glory goes to. So, if you had to start a church and I volunteered to be your treasurer, what would you name the church?
Oh my goodness, you said you were gonna come with these funny questions and I love it. Honestly, like I would I wouldn't even do any of this my church. So did you see the episode? There was a Killer Mike had a television show. He was like the Church of Black Folk. He was just like, I was just like, I'm have to be. I'll go to that church. It's just the church of like tell it like it is. Keep the church of keeping it real. Just like that's what my church is just about.
But if it's the church of keeping it real, can we like just still ask for like 20% of 10% offering?
Treasurer, you still want them tithes? Okay, well, if you're gonna ask them for their tithes, right, Treasurer, what we're gonna do is like we're gonna keep it real. This money is not gonna necessarily make it to the church fund immediately because we still got things to do. I'm gonna get my nails done. No, just kidding.
I know, right? Like, okay, first we need to make sure we look good before we get anything else.
Yes.
And your pastor must look good. Honestly, your pastor must drive a nice car and live in a nice house.
Isn't that what people want? Them honesty. People want honesty. We want truth, and we don't want truthiness. So people like why does the pastor? I thought I gave my money to the church fund. Why is the pastor driving a new Lexus? It's just like let's be honest about where the money is going. Oh Lord.
I'm telling you. No, all right. So that's the other thing I want to know. You take on some really interesting, when you do that zombie apocalypse thing and it just kills you. I kept thinking about that and I was thinking, okay, this is saying some real truths, even though it's like supposedly fantasy and so forth and so on. And in fact, I was actually laughing because last night I saw a Twitter thread that somebody started and they were going on about how, the West African contingent is monitoring what is happening in the United Kingdom, and they would like to tell the people of Britain to maintain the peace. And
oh my goodness!
And stuff. And this zombie, it just kills you. It just felt so much like that, where again there's this let's go and help Africa and save it from itself. And you bring in, of course, some really harsh, horrible truths about the French and their relationship with Africa, and you do that in quite a lot of your stories, by the way, with race, with even like black on black and gender, and I thought that was very interesting. Now, With that in mind, if a zombie apocalypse was happening tomorrow, what would be your escape plan?
Oh, I have a, you know, so I mentioned in one of my other stories, when you check in Momocon, that the CDC actually uses, the CDC Center for Disease Control in America, they actually use like a kind of simulated zombie apocalypse to help people do like disaster readiness. I live in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Raul can contest to this. Every day, other day, like a tornado is touching down in that state. I have a go
I mean,
bag.
you're a black person living in Alabama. I think every day is a disaster.
Uh, Honestly, I will say this. I'm in an academic bubble, so I have some protections. What's so people have been very wonderful and generous to me. I definitely know that when I was coming down here, people were like, "Are you going to learn how to shoot a gun?" They were just like wanted to make sure I knew how to protect myself. And it does feel that sometimes like all across America, right? I used to think it was just the South, but as we saw from the George Floyd protests, and we saw what was happening in 2020, people were getting shot in Ohio, people were getting shot in Florida, people were getting shot all over the place. So it's not even black bodies were kind of under attack in many different situations in different parts of America because the legacy of racism has never been fully addressed in this country. So I was very mindful about that and was saying I, as a black man, I've grown majority of my life in the United States. I did live in Cameroon, but I've lived in this body for a long time. I know how to protect myself. I know how to kind of move in different ways. And that said, part of my disaster preparedness kit for tornadoes, which does include water, an AM radio that's solar powered and all that good stuff. I was literally thinking, okay, I need to put some pepper spray and some things to protect yourself there because, I think that unfortunately, the world has shown us that things can go left really quickly and you need to be able to protect yourself. I think we're protecting ourselves where we're trying to vote. We're protecting ourselves where we're trying to kind of take some agency over our political process, but there are other ways we're probably gonna have to be prepared in the future, so.
Absolutely. Right. Your Caine shortlisted story, It Takes a Village, some say. I remember reading that story and it was absolutely, I think it was in my top 2 favorites in that
Aww.
year. I absolutely liked how you had this thing where where it's like this family comes and they're surprised by the actions of this child. But then you go and you do a part 2 from her perspective. And I love that. What led you to do that?
It's interesting, that story, something you mentioned earlier, I'm always a bit interested in subverting people's expectations. I think people have their idea, especially with the imagery and the kind of positioning of Africa in the world, and they think they know. And I'm just like, you don't know. You don't know what you don't know, even though we live in a world of communication and the internet, and people could very easily go watch a YouTube video and see all these wonderful African creatives, really documenting kind of fullness and richness of life on the continent. But people just they'll see one headline about a war or one headline about famine, and they'll say all of Africa is plagued, and that kind of stuff is what I'm kind of addressing, and that kind of subterranean kind of conversation I'm having about the imaging and the kind of false ideas people have. And I say this sometimes to my friends. I try to explain to them, remember when, I was in New York during 9/11, right? That was an incredibly tragic and difficult time, but nobody talks about New York nowadays and says, "Oh, New York, oh, that's where 9/11 had. Are you guys okay?" But that's all you hear. You hear that kind of energy about oh, somebody went to one, place in Africa, a region in a country, a small region in a country, and they think they know an entire continent. Africa is not a country. So that was what I have. I'm subverting those expectations, even those idea where this, international couple, they go and take a young girl from her family and they assume that they're saving her, and honestly, I have both sides. I don't need to be both sidery, but the fact that the husband in that international couple is Cameroonian, he also assumes he's saving her because he's also doing with his class issues and what have you. So I try to complicate the narrative. So it's not just about mean Western outsider takes child from Africa. It gets complicated because even amongst ourselves, we have ideas of what we think, happiness looks like, and So your idea is that if this child does not have this big house in New Jersey, 2-car garage, is that she can't be a fully fulfilled and realized person? No, we know that's not true. And that's what that girl is saying. And that's in that story. I'm not even going to say her name because she has several names. And in fact, in the entire first volume of that story, told by the parents' perspective, they call her our girl. We never hear her name because that's part of the erasure of her. That's part of their, her folding into their lives and not like an understanding or kind of seeing of who her personhood is. So she takes her personhood back in the second volume, and the story is told by her from her perspective. And I honestly, I got that like a year after I wrote their story. I wrote that first story of the parents, and then that voice kept coming to me, and she was very insistent. And I said, she's got the disposition of an Uzi. She was like, you mean you're going to tell the story of those people? Hey, you must tell my own story. She was insistent. So that's why I had to write her. And she was just like, these people thought you think you're saving us, hashtag save our kids, hashtag because you care. You said you're sending us your poto rice and feeding children for just 10 cents a day. So she's just like, I'm not the one. So that's, and I think that was an important, narrative to say. Like, not everybody feels like, like this is some kind of big come up for them. And when it became, and she, even when she gets to America, she uses all her agency to kind of help her family back home. And at the point in the narrative where the adoptive couple are unable to kind of really help her give the, the great American dream that they're allegedly giving her, she's like, I'm going to seize that dream for myself. So that's how that story came to be.
Marcel, thank you very much for your comment. The story is called It Takes a Village, some say. And the earlier part, which is where we saw from the Caine, is our girl, and the response that Nana is just talking about and that I was talking about earlier is their girl, and it's told from her perspective, which is something that I really, really appreciated. You don't shy away from really tough subjects either, because even in that story, you mentioned that the guy is who's Cameroonian, is the minister's son, and how did he manage to have this money and whatever. So this child is questioning some very important questions, which is something we too often don't talk about, when we're seeing some of these characters who, who are flashing money in the diaspora, or who say, always, I'm always going back home, but you find they always stay on Victoria Island, and they've never been beyond Victoria Island except when they're going to the airport, at Murtala Mohammed if they're in Nigeria or whatever country they are in. They're so far removed from the rest of the people in their country, and so I really like that. But the other thing that you dealt with that I saw in at least 2 or 3 of your stories is the and it's something that I was weirdly talking about during this masterclass with a few of the students, about the relationship between Africans and African Americans and some of the tensions that sometimes happen there. And you highlighted in at least 2 stories. One where, when somebody, the young woman is going and she's submitting her papers, and this woman says, "Oh, you get scholarships from our children," and then and that was just jarring. And then the other one of the wedding, the wedding where it's like, "Oh yeah, these American girls are sluts," And it's like, okay, since I'm half American, I'm slut. Is there a way to bridge this gap to be able to go beyond the name calling, African bum scratcher, akata, etc., etc.? Do you?
Girl, are you trying to ask me to solve peace in the Middle East next? I mean, I was just
I'm starting small.
Small. I mean, honestly, as a writer and an author, right? I think one of my duties is to name a thing, right? So to kind of put words onto the page so that I'm in conversation with what's happening out there. I of course cannot these are things that I've grown up with, I've seen around me. I'm an observer, and I'm able to kind of say, okay, kind of pouring out, like when I'm writing about them, I'm showing how silly they are, I'm showing how ridiculous they are, and having characters who are on both sides of these conversations, and hopefully people, as they read the stories, they'll start to kind of, if they've had those interactions in their own lives, or where they've had a moment where they've kind of had, which I call, I kind of, it's anti-blackness, unfortunately, fundamentally, on both sides, like, you'll have, like, this kind of sense that, dismissiveness of another person who looks just like you. And I just want us to kind of be just more, extend empathy to each other, so I write those stories, so hopefully that can begin those conversations with people, amongst people, schoolyard cannibal, very much telling stories about microaggressions, telling stories about how, growing up in this country with that African background, you can be dismissed by, yes, the dominant culture at large, but you can be dismissed by your own people, because some people don't want to be associated with, what they think Africa is. And that's sometimes, that kind of, oh, I don't want to be associated with those people who are seen as poor, or I don't want to be associated with those people who are seen as, like, not having access to, to anything. And conversely, I've also been on the other side, where I've been in rooms with just Africans, and there'd be those conversations. Oh, I don't want to be associated with people who are always in cop cars. I don't want to be associated with people who are, are gangsters. So I just want those, when I write those stories and tell those and have those narratives, people just to kind of realize that, look at how ridiculous this is, right? Let's, like, we recognize each other's humanity in real ways, because we don't need to be part of the problem that we see. We already have enough, people miscasting us, and, like, and taking away our humanity outside of us. We don't need to do it amongst ourselves. So,
absolutely well stated. Superhero, if you were one, which one would you be? And this is coming from Momocon, because I also really like that story.
Oh, I am such a, so, like, real talk, I'm such a big nerd, a black nerd, a blurred. If you guys know nothing today, you've learned the word blurred. Black nerds are blurreds. So I'm incredibly blurry. I've thought about this question many a time, but it's changed as it's several different times in my life. When I was younger, because I love Storm, that was my, first African weather witch heroine. I was like, oh, I want her powers. I want to be able to control the weather and everything. But, as I grew older, and, I'm talking about communication, I'm talking about writing, I think my superpower would be around words. And I'd love to be like a kind of like human translator, Esperanto person, and just be able to speak to anybody in any language, and communicate and write in any language, so that I could talk to people and just connect. So even animals, maybe. Yeah.
I always thought, like, Storm was like some reincarnation of, like, Mummy Water or something. I was like,
well, maybe because she actually, like, I think she would. So Mummy Water might be more akin to, like, let's say, like Aqua Girl, or like because Mommy Waters out there.
I ain't calling her Aqua Girl.
I'm not saying she's Aqua Girl, but I'm just talking about if we're talking about the Oshun and the Yimayas, and they're around water, like, they're around, like, the ocean. Storm is up there. Storm can take. I love Storm, but Storm, she's like, it's not just about water. She controls all the elements. She controls thunder, lightning, wind. So I'm gonna, like, she's almost a bit, sorry to say this, she's got more powers than a Mommy Wata, but sorry, Mommy Watas, but
I know.
It is what it is.
I wanted to be like, I wanted to be able to teleport.
Oh, that's nice. A nice one.
I was like, I'd like to teleport, Yeah.
Yeah, getting on that flight here from Tuscaloosa to Alabama, I was like, oh my God, when are they going to when can they start beaming me up, Scotty? When are they going to teleport me? Because I just cannot do flying anymore. And I was in Africa in April. I was just like, after that international travel and that airport in Yaoundé, I was like, teleport me now, please.
I know, right? Like, the moment that you have to take that flight and then you have to land, like, in Europe, and then you have to deal with. The last time I went there, they asked me where I was going to, and they always do this, and I'm like, why do you keep asking? Because I've got my visa and stuff. Obviously, I had to do all these things to show that before they even gave me the visa. So I was wearing a T-shirt, and there'd been something that was going on at the University of Witwatersrand, and I was wearing this T-shirt because their theme, that was the theme for the film festival that they were having. So and I got there, and they said to me, "Where are you going?" And I said I was going to Denmark. And they said, "What are you going to do in Denmark?" And I looked down at my shirt, which is theme, and I just said, I looked down, and the theme was sex actually, and I handed back my passport. And he didn't quite know what to do with that. Like,
they didn't know what to do with that. I'm sure they were like,
who are you? And he just stepped and just go, just go, But yeah, what else was that? Yeah. So
it's okay. We've all been there. I particularly was experiencing that, like in the French airports. I literally, for years, I would try to circumnavigate, and whenever I had to go to Cameroon, I was like, can I not go through France, Belgium, because they would treat you like you're some kind of imposters trying to smuggle into France. I was like, anybody trying to come in this country right now?
I know,
sorry,
right?
I've got my neo-colonialism moves. So I'm like, so I would just be like, don't treat me like you're extracted a lot of resources from my country, and you told us your policy of assimilation. You told Cameroonians that we're welcome in France. I'm passing through to go to the States, but you are not making me feel welcome here, please.
I know, right? Can we talk more about this assimilation that you promised?
Exactly. Oh, you're all Frenchmen. You can just come through here willy-nilly. Yeah. This is not anti-French people. It's the French policies of colonialism. It's the government. I'm just like, no. Yes.
Speaking of French, I said some of our best friends are French.
Suki's, I love you. Are you my new best friend?
Yeah, bestie. Anyway, speaking of French, I was actually quite curious. In The Statistician's Wife, this begins in Nigeria. But why did you decide to spell fufu the French way?
I'm sorry. Spell fufu.
Why did you decide to spell fufu the French way?
Girl, you know these are African language. They don't have any specific. Come on now. Who was there writing the alphabet and saying fufu is spelled da 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 da?
No, I get that, but the reason I'm saying that is because your publisher decided to italicize it in the same way that they were italicizing the French words, but not the African words. So the African words like egusi wasn't italicized, but fufu was italicized in the same way that the French one was done. So I was curious about that.
It's so interesting, right? That idea of to italicize or not italicize, languages, it's been very kind of fraught, a couple of people, I think it was Juno Diaz was having that conversation, especially when talking about not normalizing our languages, normalizing our, Spanish. And so that when you see it in an English text, it reads just like the person speaks it. There's no kind of stopping and highlighting it and people tripping over it and making it seem like it's foreign or it's other, right? So I think about that. But I also think that, I'm used to I never, it was never politicized for me in that way with italics, because I just always thought, our languages are bomb. I love our our patois, our creoles, our pidgin. So I'm just that's highlighting it for me. It's okay, we're speaking pidgin. What? Party over here. So that's for me. That's been my mentality. So so I've never sometimes I just, depending on the kind of the publisher and the kind of the formatting of the house, they've got their own kind of internal style guidelines. So kind of followed along with that. I was fine, but I was just okay, I think that this certain word should be italicized, but that one you've gone to deep dive, because I don't remember that one, but. Okay.
I love it. Of course, I was revisiting it, but
okay. Let me look at this because I love how people pick up on stuff.
No, part of the reason why I loved it was because with the rest of the text, all the African pigeonized what you call it words were not italicized at all. And then but the French words were, the French
Let
was
me
foreign.
see. Sometimes that is so interesting because like I remember poto poto in my mind. My mind is remembering poto poto being italicized, but who knows? Am I remembering this thing incorrectly? So poto poto was that was pigeon, that was italicized. Wahala Pekin was, I guess that story I italicized. Lord, you are taking me into fonts and type text and everything like that. I love it. Like, do you know what happens with writers? You go through so many iterations of the book.
I know. You're like, oh my God, I don't
this
remember.
final
I don't
copy,
remember
and I
this
have to
book
look at
anymore.
it so my eyes are bleeding.
No, but
I'm just
I,
like, yeah.
well, the truth is, I'm still also looking at the manuscript that I got from the U.S. publisher. So it might be different from what you have right now.
Okay,
From
yeah.
yeah.
See, you
So
see
it
how
might be different.
you outed me for sliding. I was sliding things in your your DMs. I was like, you can't get into the out of
Like
custody yet,
that.
but make sure I
That's
look
like
us and stuff.
also that is actually a little spoken about, but something that happens so often. And you mention it happening in the US, and you in that story you put the statistics, of the different people women who've been killed by their husbands. And the story is the statistician's wife. And it's been happening also, I understand, quite a lot of it in the UK as well, and in France, and wherever people go into the diaspora, and reading it from you, but you made it so light. It didn't come heavy. I didn't feel like I was being punched again and again. And yeah, also I didn't. You taught me a new word because I didn't know that word. Uh,
Exorcides.
yeah, I pronounced it in
Yeah.
I pronounced it in Xhosa. I was like "Uxorixide," type
Oh,
of
I
thing.
like
I
that.
kind of liked it.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um. So, how much of it? I mean, obviously, that particular story is fiction, but set in reality. But how much were all those stats real?
Yeah, I put a little like disclaimer in the back of the books and saying like, it was an interesting choice to actually use those real names, real cases. I didn't want to do further harm and kind of further traumatize, but I also was thinking about Sandra Bland and thinking about, say her name and making sure that these women are not forgotten
I'm
and
not
being out,
forgotten.
and that these are very real people and this has happened to them. And a lot of it happened, yeah, as you're saying, is like, we have these situations where there's people are leaving and they're going into the diaspora, and there's different cultural norms, and then the gender politics has changed, and like, so all this is a weird and strange mashup. I mean, of all these things that are happening around, like what does the modern African family look like? What do modern African hetero, like male female relations look like? What does love look like in this space? Like, can we have partnerships? Can we have, and I think that unfortunately in those situations, it was a story that felt very specific to me because I was a nurse, as many African kids did. My parents were like, go and do nursing first, and you can pay through for college, and that's how I did. I paid for my college and worked all throughout college, getting my first degree while I was an LPN. And at that time, and I saw like all these African nurses, and it just happened to be Igbo nurses were being killed, and we weren't hearing anything about them, and of course, like I talk about it in the book, where we saw it, happen most recently with the Gabby Petito story. Like, there's this missing white woman syndrome where you hear these stories. If you're a blonde and you're all American looking, we hear about your stories about you missing. We hear about your stories about you being killed. But many Black women and Black girls are harmed, lost, beaten, and killed, and you don't hear their stories, or you don't, because they're not, the quintessential American narrative, And I wanted to tell those next stories, and I wanted to kind of examine why that was happening. And I'm not like, a sociologist. There are plenty of people who are talking about like gender politics and talking about, toxic masculinity. But I wanted to interrogate some of those things and kind of see why those things were kind of doing harm to Black women's bodies, and particularly, those women who were coming from spaces where, they thought they were coming to America once again for that American dream and to have like more agency. And they're nurses. Now they have more, fiscal agency. They've got more money, but the kind of things that are being asked of them to kind of make themselves small, for them to kind of still be more traditional, whatever that traditional is that people kind of think that they're trying to subscribe to, were getting them killed, when they were not small enough, when they got too big for their britches per se, I mean, look what's happening in the States right now. This is an ongoing conversation, like, look how to control women, like let's control their bodily autonomy. Let's control how they, what they can do with their own, uteri. So it's part of the ongoing conversation. And it just so happens to be complicated that the fact that now we add the cultural aspect of these women being African now. And so it's just like, okay, how can we control her through culture, Yeah.
Well, honestly, I really absolutely appreciated that you did it with such gentleness and tenderness that I didn't feel beaten down. But so it was a story, but it was a story that way after I read it, I kept thinking about it and, making reference to it as I spoke about certain different issues. So thank you for it.
I wanted to say one of the reasons why I think that might have happened is because I made sure that Victoria, like, Okereke, that she was on the wife who, is, killed, that she's on the page. We see her, even though it's in flashback, she's on the page for longer than she is, dead. And I think that was important for me because I don't want it just to be all about like a dead woman's body. I wanted her to be alive and present and have a personality and be so that, her loss is there, but she still has a legacy,
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Right. If there are any questions, guys, at any point in time, please feel free to type them in. We probably only have space for like 2 questions because it's 7:50. Where has the time gone?
I know, I've been having such a wonderful time.
But you are like a teacher, a lawyer, a nurse. Like, what haven't you done, Nana? A writer?
Girl, I've always been a writer.
Are you like planning to do every profession in the world? Are you
like, like I said,
have you thought about engineering and doctor?
Oh, I talk about that in the story. That was the I call it the high holy trinity of careers blessed by African parents. Are you a lawyer? Are you a doctor? Are you an engineer? And now they can say maybe something with computers. It's okay. Something with IT. But like, I mean, honestly, like, that's why I went to nursing school, because parents were like, okay, you need to be a nurse so that you can pay for school, So it was just ended up being like, all these things happen, like being the practical African daughter and daughter of immigrants that I was, like, and like, I've always been a writer. I've been writing stories since I was 9 years old. It's just a question of privileging writing. And nobody ever tells you, like, when you're growing. And I had wonderful parents who gave me a lot of, openness to the arts. I played the flute. I did little arts classes. I sculpted. But, that kind of first child of immigrants, you're not sitting there thinking, I'm going to be an artist. Which kind of artist?
Like, what is the name of your problem? Artist what? Artist who?
Artist what? Like, excuse me. And so it's like, and it's like just part of like, the air we breathe. It's not even like my parents, they're not even saying it. It just goes without saying that I was going to, get a practical degree like law and be able to support my family. And it just happened that way. And it doesn't mean that, people are trying to be stultifying, because of course, we have an amazing like literary scene in Africa. We've got a wonderful, robust art, like people painting, that we're doing all this stuff in spite of the fact that we got our day jobs as engineers, doctors.
And lawyers.
I think, I think it's only now that like, this next generation, they're kind of foregoing that. And I don't even know, I don't have the answer. I don't tell people not to go to college because that's what that's who I am. That's how I was brought up to know that you got to have this other stuff, because even when I went back to go do my writing degree, did I have to go back to do a writing degree? No. But did I know my parents are going to be like, how are you going to support yourself? You better go get a writing degree. I was always writing. Did I have to go to get an MFA? But I was like, oh, okay, at least she can be a professor. At least she can teach. So like I said,
so when you got to family meetings,
immigrants.
When you got to family meetings, they're like, this is our daughter, Prof.
Exactly. So it's like Rata. So, but now the book is done well, and I'm happy. So they can say writer, but they can still say okay, Professor Writer. So.
All right. No, I know. I was telling some friends that one of the first when my first book came out, and one of the first things that my mother says to me, she said, because I quit my day job and I decided I wanted to try this full-time writing thing.
Whoa, you are.
Hey, I know. I'm brave, aren't I? So my mother called me and she said, Zugi saw my child. I said yes. She said, we all learn to write in first grade. Can't you aspire to something better?
Wow.
I was like levels of shade, like whoa.
That's that loving African mom shade where she's just like,
I know.
Reconsider, mom. Reconsider as a piece out of love.
Sweet. This is very nice.
It's a very interesting proposition.
Yeah. But how are you going to eat? How are you going to look after me in my old age?
Yeah. And honestly, like I get it. When I understand these things, it's never an indictment because I understand where this come from. Like my parents literally came from villages, Yes, like they had like I'm Chief Pekin. I like my on both sides, like they had like nice houses for the villages, but they were still villages. So like they came to America through education. They came, they worked hard. So that's the path. That's how that you're going to make it through. So, I see a question.
Oh, there's a question. You mentioned you've been writing since you were 9. What did you read then and later on, different periods of life, and what do you read now?
Oh my goodness. I always tell people that I read widely and wildly, because even when I was little 9-year-old, I was writing fan fiction for sci-fi and Star Trek and Star Wars, but I was also reading, we always had a library in my home. So I was also reading, Pride and Prejudice and Henry James and like Lizzie Bennet from Pride and Prejudice, like Jane Austen. I'm still a diehard Janeite to this day because Lizzie Bennet in my mind, right? She's my best friend, So I mean, I still read very eclectically, right? So right now if you look at my books, I'm in LA, so I don't have all my books with me, but I've got like, a zombie graphic novel, I have a book of like, I'm teaching a flash fiction class this fall, so I'm reading like flash fiction. I'm reading a book on like, on philosophy, trying to kind of figure out how to be present, be mindfulness. So I read like very varied books. I mean, there's always going to be books in my house and they're going to be about different things. I can't really say that I read one thing. I read a lot, so.
Thank you for that answer. And Marcel also wants to know whether your book is going to be available in Brazil at any point in time.
Oh Lord, I think so. So this is what I know, right? I know that the international rights to the book, but I know that it's out in the UK, and I kind of hate saying the word Commonwealth, but I know that meant African countries. Unless I don't know what's happening in South America. Even now, like I just closed a deal. My book is going to be. I know it's going to be available. I did sub rights to Cameroon, so I know that's going to be happening in June of next year. So hopefully it'll keep on happening. I know that the ebook copies are available. You can buy ebook copies. I don't believe that it's like, I believe you can buy it from Brazil, but who knows what, you might get that paywall and say this is not available in your
It's
region.
not available in this country.
Exactly. I'm not quite sure. But I will look into that. And if Marcel wants to reach out and, to me via my website, ask me that question and I will look into it and make sure that it's still available to you, or I might have to pull a Sakizwa and just slide something in your just slide something your way. Slide your way.
Slide it. Yeah, Marcel, yeah, I think my first book has actually just been translated into Portuguese. Beautifully done by a publisher in publisher in Angola and a publisher in Mozambique. So it was a co-publishing deal, and it should be in Brazil sometime next year. So that's something to look forward to for you.
Oh, I love that. I like that. Yeah.
I know. I'm quite excited about the way the publishing scene on this continent is just having like all these fantastic collaborations and vibes. And
I mean, I love to see all those international editions and even just like doing the language, like the Rain Chick at MomoCon, the same Cameroonian press, Bakwa, shout out to Bakwa Literary Publications.
I love Bakwa.
They are wonderful. I mean, I wish
Raul is part of Bakwa.
Who?
Raul Jumeli.
Oh my goodness, Raul. I know. Hey, shout out to you and Jakeju for doing the Lord's work over there in Cameroon and making sure that the literary arts scene has a space and a home in Cameroon. And so I was like, take everything you want from me. Like, first I was sending money, but I was just supporting the artists. But now, like, I just like, okay, here are my rights. Just take the book and run with it. So, and then now we're doing like a French translation of my Comic-Con stories, so you get to hear about all the adventures of the kids, the blurty kids nerding out, but it'll now be in French, and I'm going to be working with them. So it'll be interesting to see that. It's going to be on the Bakwa website later on this
that's
year.
going to be fantastic. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
And you know what? You need to like hook up with Mohale Mashiko because you are like twins from different levels.
You hook a sister up. Like
I will do that. I'll do that. I'll do the link up.
I was supposed to be in Africa. I'm going to try to go to everything the end of this year, but I was trying to do it last year when the book came out. But it was like, I wanted to go to all the Ake, festivals and all the kind of different literary festivals and just meet my people down the ground. But my book was not available just in Africa yet. So
but are you coming to Ake this year?
I'm trying to make all those things happen this year.
Make it happen.
Yeah, because what happened was like last year my entire book tour was at COVID, all virtual. And my book wasn't available in Africa, so it was just kind of like, oh, wah, wah, So now that it is, I want to I'm busting out of my pandemic bubble. I want to come to the continent and just and meet readers and have conversations with fellow literary folk on the continent like you.
Oh yeah, you love it. Yeah. You'll love it. And I think, Melly, you might need to do your raffle now, your pickup, your...
Okay, that's great. I think Detlef is on and he is going to be doing that for us. So Detlef.
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
Hey,
Detlef. It's so nice to put a face to the person who's been so wonderful.
Yes.
How is Namibia?
It was very cold, but it's getting warmer.
I hate you because it's freezing in Nairobi.
We had 2 weeks ago. We had a very heavy sandstorm. Could even see from the sky. It was about 200 kilometers in the sea. The sand clouds. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. That's Namibia.
I did not know that. It's so interesting.
Yeah, the land of where the desert kisses the sea.
Oh, that's poetic. I've never known that there were sandstorms happening there. So
that's how they advertise themselves.
The land where the desert kisses the sea.
Yeah, they talk about how you don't need to go to dunes in United Arab Emirates because they actually have some awesome, fantastic sand dunes.
Yeah. And but the biggest sand dune in the world is apparently in Namibia at the Sesosvlei dune. But I think that's more countries claiming that, but Namibia also claiming that, you know.
Well, we're giving it to Namibia. And,
okay.
because I fell on it anyway, so I think it's true.
It's the eldest desert anyway, you know. The oldest desert in the world. Okay, I've changed my Haribo box into a box, you know, where you can see I'm not cheating. I'm not looking. We have our first winner. Oh, this person, I think she.
It was me, and I just changed the name.
It was you.
Yes, I just changed the name to Meli Mansu.
No, we can't give it to you. That is not fair.
That's not. That's okay.
Okay, next one. Francisca Obiero. Francisca, say hi to us. Where are you from? She's still online?
I see her online.
Yes, she's online, yeah.
Oh, I love that the people are winning in real time. This is wonderful.
I see the mic is...
Yes.
Yes, we can hear Francisca.
Yes, I'm Francisco Obiero from Kenya.
From Kenya.
Oh, Kenya! Yay!
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
Good. So we have one winner from Kenya. The next one. That to you. It's T. Kedje. He is still online.
Yes.
Hi, yes, I'm still here.
Hi,
yes.
Congratulations. You won a book. Yay.
Yay, thank you.
Oh, congrats.
Where
are you from?
South Africa, Cape Town.
Oh, Cape Town.
Okay, Cape Town, we won't hold it against you, but congratulations.
There's a story there, but I'm not going to go.
There's always a story about Cape Town, love.
Oh, my goodness.
Especially when it's a Joburger speaking.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, Joburg versus Cape Town rivalries.
Number 3 goes to Germany. Julia Augert. Julia.
Congratulations, Germany.
Danke.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Hello,
Enjoy.
I'm looking forward to the book. Great. Thank you.
Julia was working in Kenya as well as in Namibia, but now she's in Germany. Yes.
Congratulations, Julia. And it looks like you have sunshine because you are looking all sunshiny in your
Yes,
I love it.
it's actually summer in Germany and we have sunshine today. It's warm. It's beautiful.
I am jealous.
I know how it feels in winter in Africa.
Oh my goodness. This international crowd is making me like, oh my goodness, are they going to ask me when this book is going to be available in German? I'm going to get on that. Enjoy though.
So next winner. So we have one from Kenya, South Africa, Germany. Next winner is Tisamulu. Tyson, please help me.
Hello, it's Ion. It's kind of hard to pronounce it. Sayon.
Oh, Sayon. Okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Sayon.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
Where
you so
are you?
much. I'm from Ethiopia.
Wow.
Ah, fantastic.
Oh,
I think you're first Ethiopian winner in like 18 seasons.
Yeah, it's the first one. Yeah, sure.
It's really a pleasure to be here and to share, experiencing ideas with you all. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
Okay.
From Ethiopia.
And the last winner goes to, I think that one goes to Namibia, Lena Amwala.
Lena, you win again. Congratulations.
Very much.
Thank you.
Yes. You're from Windhoek, isn't it?
No,
Yes,
she's
I
not from
am.
Windhoek. Are you from Windhoek, Lena?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am.
How come I didn't see you at the Duke Lit Fest?
I didn't attend.
Why?
It's responsibilities.
Okay, well, hope you enjoy the read.
Thank you so much. Enjoy. Before we end, I wanted to share this moment of symmetry because I realized, like, we were talking about the Namibian desert, and my mother had shared with me many, many moons ago this wonderful German Namibian artist. You might know him, Max Siedentopf. He did this installation where there's in the desert, he put this solar paneled kind of radio, which is playing forever and ever Toto's Africa. Africa. So
oh my God! No, I didn't know about
So this song in the middle of the Namibian desert is playing in perpetuity, powered by the sun. So Africa is playing in Africa forever and ever. It might, zombie apocalypse would come and it would still be playing. So
it's like a Nokia 3310, forever charged.
Exactly.
Yes, I've heard about it. Yeah, it's in the desert. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Detlef.
And see you on the next session of Virtually Yours.
See you next session. And Nana, thank you so much for making the time.
This was such a joy. I feel like I feel robbed that I have to leave you.